Get ready for 20 exclusive and action-packed dashcam videos. From brutal wrecks to death-defying close calls and everything in between, you won't want to miss a minute, so buckle up. Karen was on her way home with a friend when she watched the Toyota Rav4 ahead of her get T-boned by a red light runner. Right after the traffic light changed, another Toyota Rav4 from Karen's left flew into the intersection, slamming into the driver's side of the silver SUV. Karen pulled over while her friend called 911. When police arrived, she provided them with a copy of her dashcam footage. Karen told us the Rav4 that had run the red light was occupied by 2 children, one in a child's seat, in addition to the driver. Thankfully, it doesn't appear that any of them were seriously injured. Karen told us she loves our videos, and her favorite segment each week is our Tesla behaving badly. We've got a good one coming up, so hit that subscribe button and let's keep rolling. George was following a pickup truck down a highway in Oregon when the driver slowly drifted across the center line before slamming head-on into an oncoming Jeep. The impact sent the Jeep rolling off the road while the pickup continued into a field before stopping. George pulled over and called 911 while his son-in-law rendered aid to the driver of the pickup. We don't know what else happened to the vehicles or their occupants, but it sure looks to us like both the pickup and the Jeep were totaled. We're hopeful that they were at least able to protect their occupants from any serious injuries. Slowski was about to leave after picking up some food and was waiting at a red light when some guy he'd never seen before approached his car before slapping his headlight. Slowski told us his window was down, and after smacking his headlight, the guy tried to reach into his Honda Civic and grab him. Slowski pulled into the other lane and turned to get away from the guy, then headed into a parking lot. The original audio included copyrighted music, so we had to mute it, but it sounded to us like the guy said, "I want my money," before smacking Slowski's headlight. Thankfully, his meat flipper didn't cause any damage. Joe was driving his Kia Sportage down a dark Wisconsin highway when he encountered an oncoming driver in his lane. Joe told us that the other driver claimed she'd been swerving for a deer when the collision occurred. But when police breathalyzed her, her blood alcohol level was 0.15, almost twice the legal limit. On top of all that, she wasn't even insured. Joe was hospitalized for his injuries, but thankfully, he's expected to make a full recovery. Bill was waiting at a red light when a cyclist, who evidently couldn't decide if he was a vehicle or a pedestrian, chose to run the red light. See if you can spot the moment the cyclist began to regret this decision. A motorcycle cop on Bill's right wasn't about to let the cyclist slide, and he lit up the party lights and stopped the scofflaw to serve him up some instant justice. Bill told us he kept going and laughed out loud. Erin was driving on an Illinois road with a speed limit of 55 miles per hour. As she approached a bend, a delivery van stopped on the side of the road, blocked her view of an oncoming Jeep. The Jeep driver recklessly tried to pass the delivery van at high speed before realizing he was on a collision course with Erin. Miraculously, Erin was able to steer around the sliding Jeep, avoiding what would have been a brutal impact. As Imtiaz approached a red light, the driver of an SUV made a right on red. For whatever reason, the driver of the pickup truck in front of Imtiaz then proceeded into the intersection even though the traffic light was still red. Before the pickup could make it across the intersection, an SUV from the right T-boned it. Imtiaz told us he tried honking to alert the pickup driver to his mistake, but his warning had no effect. Imtiaz and his wife stopped and offered help to both drivers, and thankfully, he said they seemed to be okay. First responders arrived quickly, and Imtiaz provided them with copies of his dashcam footage. Joe was driving down a Texas highway when a sheriff's deputy entered the highway from the shoulder. At first, Joe didn't know why the deputy had joined traffic, but the reason soon became apparent. The deputy's SUV eventually pulled behind a pickup truck pulling a flatbed trailer loaded down with poorly secured drill pipes. Joe told us he came back the other way and the pickup truck was off the highway. He thinks the cop probably forced the driver not to continue until the load was secured. But since drill pipes are extremely heavy and require a forklift to move, that probably wasn't going to happen anytime soon. Dave installed a dash cam in his wife Holly's Lexus 3 years ago, but he told us this was the first thing it captured that's worth viewing. She was driving in California when she witnessed a triple rear-end collision.
Oh! Yikes, somebody just bashed into this car. I gotta hang up. Bye.
A Ford pickup rear-ended a Honda Civic, shoving it into another car which then rolled into a Genesis SUV. All told, 4 vehicles were involved in the collision. Holly stopped and called 911, and Dave later emailed her dashcam footage to the investigating deputy. He told us they were grateful for the video evidence. Andrew was driving his Honda Shuttle, which is equipped with integrated 4-way dash cams, when the driver of a Suzuki came flying into the road ahead of him. Both drivers screeched to a halt, and the 2 vehicles came within inches of colliding. Incredibly, no contact was made. Andrew said the other driver claimed she hadn't seen his bright red minivan. After checking for any damage, Andrew told us he left with a slightly faster heart rate. Carlos was headed out for some lunch and was proceeding through a green light when a pickup driver made a right on red without stopping, which is illegal, and then started across the entire road in front of Carlos. Carlos told us he tried to avoid hitting the red light runner, but his attempt was unsuccessful. He's already begun the insurance claim process, and the pickup driver's insurance provider has agreed to take full responsibility. Amazingly, when Carlos spoke with the pickup driver, she told him she thought she'd had the right-of-way. Well, she knows now, you can't make a right on red without stopping, and drivers with a green light have the right-of-way. We told you it was coming, and here it is. This submitter encountered a Tesla behaving badly when the driver of a Model 3 crossed double yellow lines to speed around him and run a stop sign. That Tesla man can't drive. That Tesla man can't drive. There are definitely more Teslas coming up in this episode, but thankfully, this will be the only one behaving badly this week. See if you can catch every Tesla in this episode, and let us know how many you spotted in the comments. Cyber was on his way to get his trucking license when he began proceeding through an intersection with a yellow light, which he confirmed is fully legal. Before he made it across, an oncoming driver turned across his lane. Cyber wasn't able to avoid colliding with the other vehicle, but his braking likely prevented either driver from being injured. Incredibly, the other driver threw up his hands and seemed to blame Cyber for the collision. When police arrived, they found the other driver at fault. Cyber suspects he may have lost his license and been required to attend a driving course to get it back. Thankfully, the whole incident was relatively painless. For Cyber, anyway. Eric and Brooke were driving their Scion XB down a Texas highway when a pickup pulling a trailer lost a rear tire. The tire's explosion sent the pickup out of control, and it nearly pit maneuvered our submitter's Scion before the driver regained control and pulled over on the shoulder. Incredibly, no collision occurred. Our submitters had been on their way to the store at the time, and they joked about coming back with a new pair of pants and a drink for the pickup driver. I'm sure he probably would have appreciated the gesture. This submitter was trying to stay ahead of a rare steam locomotive on the track to his right. While keeping an eye on the train, he accidentally sideswiped a Ford F-150 on his left. Our submitter admits he'd been distracted by the train at the time of the collision. The impact ruptured the tire of the passing F-150 and likely totaled our submitter's Mazda Lantis. He pulled over and spoke with the F-150 driver, and they were able to come to a private agreement. He followed the other driver to a tire shop and purchased him a new tire, then they shook hands and parted ways. Sean was headed home after running errands when he noticed a loose manhole cover. He quickly turned around, but before he had a chance to push it back into place, a passing pickup truck ran over it. The manhole cover was sent flying, and the jolt to the pickup knocked one of its mud flaps loose. After Sean fixed the cover, he retrieved the mud flap and ran it to the pickup driver. He also offered the pickup driver a copy of his dashcam footage in case he needed it for an insurance claim. Thankfully, the occupants of the pickup were safe and sound. Carl was driving his Toyota Sienna in Tucson when he was rear-ended out of nowhere. The impact shoved Carl's Sienna into the back of the Kia Sorento in front of him, making this a three-vehicle collision. The involved drivers pulled over and exchanged information. Thankfully, nobody was injured. Nikki was on her way home from work when an oncoming driver ran the fresh red light just as a driver already in the intersection was turning left across their lane. The red light runner barely managed to swerve around the turning vehicle as they barreled across the intersection at high speed. Nikki told us she got a dashcam for her Ford Mustang after watching our videos. At the time, she'd only installed the front camera, but after this event, she installed the rear one too. If you need a dashcam, remember that Wham Bam fans get exclusive discounts using the coupon codes in the description. Joe watched a white van start making its way across the street ahead of him before getting T-boned by a Dodge Durango. Joe pointed out that the Durango driver didn't seem to slow down before the impact, and I think we can all agree they had plenty of opportunity to avoid running into the van. Thankfully, he didn't see anyone hurt as he drove by. When he called the police to offer them his dashcam footage, they told him they wouldn't need it since someone else had already provided theirs. Hightower was driving down a highway in Texas when he captured something on his dashcam that he knew he had to send to Wham Bam. Check out the fire department Cybertruck he passed on the other side of the highway. Well, how many Teslas did you spot? Be sure to let us know in the comments, then watch this episode for more Cybertruck action. Or watch this episode if you want to see more dashcam videos from Texas. Either way, subscribe so next week's episode will show up in your feed, and we'll see you then.
Wham, bam, we got a Patreon, man. Please support the show.